Hi, folks. We're going to get started. We have everyone's here, so we'll get started. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'd like to invite the panelists up to the stage. Our first panel, first I want to invite them up to the stage. The blue chairs. Hi. And I think Dr. Brown's here. Great. Well, in a moment, Dr. Brown will be here. He was stuck in traffic in classic DC style. He's coming from Baltimore. I'm excited to introduce these three global thinkers and doers who are here to outline a strategy to build the next generation of cooperatives and mutualists. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sarah Horowitz. Iban Zugasti, did I get that right?
Yep.
Good. And Reverend Dr. Heber Brown, and I know he's coming. Okay. So I guess we'll get it started.
Sure. Shall I jump
Go
on
ahead.
in? Okay, good.
That's great. Thank you, Sarah.
So first of all, so nice to see all you, literally. Good morning. So we're here to talk about a strategy to build the next generation of cooperatives and mutualists. And instead of having a formal intro, when we each start to speak, we'll introduce ourselves. And before I start, this panel actually was the culmination of many, many conversations that happened over the summer and started really with the Italian cooperatives and Paolo Bellotti and Iban, and really Michael Peck from One Worker, One Vote was instrumental in actually making every single thing happen for this event. So really just want to thank Michael and also Paolo Bellotti from the Italian cooperatives. So as we were talking about the next generation, we started to really think about that probably the biggest and most important message as we're thinking about our future strategies is, to put it bluntly, to get out of our silos. That all of our work actually really is much less in a silo than we think, because organically, whatever we're organizing in a community, I would call it a mutualist map, but I'm 100% sure you do what I'm about to say, you just don't call it that, which is we look at the other and for the other mutualists. And what am I talking about? Well, it's the other unions, the faith-based organizations, and literally the faith community, the people who are working in mutual aid, people who are social entrepreneurs. Also, given the new technology around the distributed ledger, this new concept of a decentralized autonomous organization. So all around us actually are the makings of this next era. Of course, I forgot to give my own introduction, so I'm just going to say this very quickly. I'm Sarah Horowitz. I was the founder of the Freelancers Union. I come from a labor family. My grandfather was a vice president of a union. My grandmother lived in union housing, amalgamated housing, till she was 96. My parents were in a babysitting co-op, so I hope you feel like that I have some mutualist bona fides. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over these concepts now of what is mutualism very quickly, and then we're going to send this over to Iban for an introduction, and then we're going to start chatting. So what is mutualism? Well, first of all, like you all know mutualism. I'm just saying what everybody knows in Madrigal and Emilia-Romagna. This isn't a term I've coined. It's in biology and mutuality. But the thing that really brings together cooperatives and unions and mutual aid and faith and decentralized autonomous organizations, et cetera, is number one, you have to have a solidaristic community. You have to have a group of people that know that they are together in something. The second principle is it has to have an economic mechanism. And that means that it can be dues, it can be services, it could be alternative currency, time banking, but there must be an exchange. And the third is that the time frame is a long-term time frame. And that you will see undergirds all of this. So now what we're going to do, we'll see is if we shall we just go right over to you, Ivan?
Sure.
Okay, so now, Ivan, can you introduce yourself and then we'll start having a conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. And first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to this wonderful event. It's a pleasure for myself, and it's an honor for Mondragon Corporation to be here again. I mean, my other colleagues have been participating in this COP Impact conference before, and we find that this is a great gathering for the cooperative movement to stay together, to discuss, and to learn from each other. Hi, good morning. And yeah,
He needs a drink. Can we have, like, after
Two,
all this
please.
traffic?
Two.
Come on, we're scrappy cooperators. Let's make that happen. So just to
Yes,
catch you up,
introductions.
we're just starting right with
Yep.
intros. So
Perfect.
Ivan, and then we'll hand this over to you.
Perfect.
so I work in LKS. It's a LKS COP. It's the engineering and consultancy division within Mondragon Corporation in the Basque region in Spain. And my job is a little bit to try to bring this Mondragon inspiration to overseas, to other places outside our small region. And also to learn from others, because we think we still need to learn a lot. And that was the beginning of Mondragon, we remember, with the education and learning approach. And I come here to the US very often. We had a very, very nice time this week on Monday in New York City. We were really impressed visiting this Brooklyn Navy Yard project, and we were discussing how to work together. Also, we signed an agreement with the CUNY School of Law. We are starting a new cooperation with Mondragon University with a new exchange of students. So in February next year, we are planning to have already around more than 100 students from Mondragon University in New York, in Brooklyn, together with CUNY. And we are also planning to receive a large number of students from the US, also from CUNY and other places probably. So it's a wonderful time, yeah.
Great, wonderful. So we're going to, before we get into our conversation, if
Yep.
you could just say a few words.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name
Good
is
morning.
Heber Brown. I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called the Black Church Food Security Network. This network was, did somebody cheer for the organization? That's beautiful. I know that's right. I like it. This organization springs from my experience as a pastor in Baltimore. I'm a preacher's kid, pastor, one of those families where everybody's a pastor and leadership in church or something like that. And so I pastored as well for 14 years. And while there, I realized that I was spending far more time and energy visiting members of my congregation who were hospitalized or dealing with various ailments than I was even given time to Sunday morning obligations. And standing by the hospital bedsides of the members of our church and listening to them, I picked up a pattern. And the pattern was that diet was somewhere in the equation of why they were in the position that they were in and why that cycle was continuing. And then as a pastor in that position, because we were a multi-generational church, I was able to also see the pattern of particular kinds of ailments jumping from one line in the family to the next line in the family. And frankly, I just got tired of just giving prayers and scriptures and just hoping people made it and wanted to do something more substantive. And the thing that we did at our church was start a garden in our front yard. And starting to grow our own food and having that food come into our church really transformed our ministry. And the light bulb moment came to say, listen, there's nothing so spectacular about me or our church that made this work at our church, which lets me know that the basic ingredients for this type of transformative ministry is scalable and can be mobile. And so the vision came to start this national organization that really just takes advantage of the existing network of black churches. There's a whole like galaxy that exists that if you're not a part of black church communities, you might not know, but churches work together in a variety of ways all the time. And so we were just taking advantage of what already exists and putting food sovereignty at the center of that. And it has taken off. Now, 8 years ago was just our one church, and now we have 250 congregations in this national network, 125 black farmers. And what we do is we help churches grow food on their land, partner with and buy from black farmers, and co-create these supply chains that move sometimes like an underground railroad from the farm to the faith community, so that people who are closest to the problem of food insecurity and what we call food apartheid are actually in the driver's seat of being the solution when it comes to food insecurity in their own community. I'm so grateful that not only do we have gardens, and we have these black farmers markets that we do on Sunday right after church, because everybody's hungry after church, so you gotta put food right there. We do black farm tours. The latest thing we launched this year was orchards, fruit tree orchards. Mm-hmm. So we have a 50-tree orchard on one of our church's land in Jacksonville, Florida, growing our own lemons and other citrus fruits. And just yesterday, I talked to a farmer in Virginia who's gonna grow blueberries for us, and we're bringing them to churches. It's not just this transactional kind of Amazon type of thing. No. The congregations come and we plant the blueberries together and we harvest together and we think through what does a people-led supply chain look like from the field to the community, with the church being the anchor institution and the engine to move it forward.
Beautiful. So I hope that at this point you can really see that why Doug O'Brien and NCBA team really sees that this connection of mutualism is the tying in of this webs of activity that I heard in Quebec. People said it's building from the ground up for the common good, which I think is a beautiful way to say it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to combine two questions, and then you each can take them so that we'll have enough time for a conversation with you all. So just going to ask you, when we'll go Iban and then Pastor, how your work ties to other mutualist organizations and movements of faith, unions, cooperative, community organizations, mutual aid, social enterprise, which kind of both of you already started to talk about. And then in the actual physical space where your wonderful work takes place, please tell us about how people can lead their own lives in a different way. I am hearing the words conviviality and equanimity more. What words come to your mind? And seeing people enjoy nature, good food, and have a culture of being connected and less economic, and feeling less economic or psychic insecurity.
So I would say that Mondragon has always been connected to the cooperative movement internationally and globally. So we consider that as part of our family. We are very active in the International Cooperative Alliance with some of our friends here, also in different networks globally. And I personally been working a lot with also with cooperative ecosystems here in the U.S. With the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative, now also with Brooklyn, and also in 2 weeks you and I will be in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
For the Union Coop Symposium, and we are very, very excited about that. We would like very much going there every year and seeing how these ecosystems are growing, and we also learn a lot from what they are doing. So this is very, very very important part of our work. Yesterday we also had a meeting at the UN headquarters. And we had very, very good news. You know that a few months ago we managed to have a new UN resolution talking about cooperatives, and especially mentioning two interesting cases that are kibbutz in Israel and also Mondragon in Spain, and especially talking about the importance of entrepreneurship and creating entrepreneurial ecosystems to have these cooperative ecosystems help grow and be part of this great contribution to development. I was telling them that I mean, this is the only way we can reach these 2030 goals, these sustainable development goals. I mean, there is no other way. Cooperatives must be there in the roadmap. I mean, we are not going to get it. Secretary General Guterres was admitting 2 weeks ago in New York that the rate of achievement of these SDGs it's only 15%, and we only have 6 years ahead. So we really need a bigger role of cooperatives on that way, because we can really make a different contribution to those SDGs and to that roadmap. So that's also an important part of our role, together with Inigo Albizuri, our colleague that you met on Monday. And there is a third line also related to a project we have now in hands. We call it ASSET, and it stands for Arizmendi Arrieta Social Economy Think Tank. So we are planning to create a new think tank that is inspired by our priest, Arizmendi Arrieta, who was the founder of the Mondragon movement in our case. And the whole idea is that, I mean, we have many think tanks globally. You know, I also belong to others, like the Millennium Project for Futurists, that is actually located here in Washington, D.C. But we don't have a global think tank on social enterprise and the role of cooperatives. So this is something that we've been working with the International Cooperative Alliance. And we are planning to launch it quite soon. We got some support from the Spanish Ministry of Work, Labor, and also the European institutions are very much engaged on this project. So we are looking forward to it. And then talking about the lives,
yes.
You were asking us about how is our...
What's the delicious food that when you go around Mondragon, people eat? What is it? Pichote? What is it called? Say it?
Oh, yeah. Pinchos, the tapas. Yes. I live in San Sebastian, so I'm very happy having this gastronomy ecosystem.
Because people are out and you see older people and younger
yes.
people.
Yes, and this is part of our social ecosystem, I would say, because especially in the small towns, many of you have been in Mondragon, and this connection to the food, to the gastronomy, the pinchos, those gastronomy clubs that we have, those are part of our cooperative connections. I mean, cooperative members, they get together, and you could have a board president together with another member of the co-op talking about personal issues and business issues, and this is part of the social innovation approach of it. I think I remember many of my colleagues were saying that talking about co-ops in Mondragon is something so natural. My two sons study in a cooperative school. We buy into Eroski, which is a retailer, a large food retailer within Mondragon. I mean, we are surrounded by cooperatives, and this is part of the success also. And this is what we are trying to also to inspire in some different districts in New York, in Cincinnati. We've been working together also in Montreal and yes. Many other places. But then this is part of your life. You cannot separate like work and life.
Yes.
And actually, this is why you and I work together in this book that we call Humanity at Work and Life, that we launch on Monday in CUNY School of Law in New York. And this is where we are trying to explain how we connect our lives to our work.
That's beautiful. And maybe at the end we'll say where people can get that. That comes from one
sure.
worker, one buck.
Sure.
Over to you, Pat.
Yes, that was a lot of questions, and
I think start with food.
Start with food is already good. So let me start actually, because I think is that Jessica Gordon-Nimhart over there in Oh, Lord have mercy. So look, all right, so we're talking about how our work kind of connects or links with cooperative and mutualist principles. If you don't have Collective Courage by Jessica Gordon Nimhard, run now and buy that book. Now.
Where is she? She should get a standing
She's right
ovation.
there. She's right, yeah, she's waving at us.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think a real.
Oh, yes, yeah. Jessica Gordon Nimhard, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, when I tell you, second only to the Bible, that's the Bible for me when it comes to really studying the role of cooperatives and mutualist thought and praxis, especially in the African American context. That book was a North Star for my understanding. Yeah. And what I loved about that book is that throughout the profiles and the writing that she so brilliantly did on those pages, the black church is all throughout that book. In different ways, the church is there, either as being the home or being the springboard and catalyst for cooperative activity when it comes to the African American community. And that's inspiring for me because what it helped to do was to present models of ministry that go beyond what traditional theological education prepares ministers and preachers for, which is basically being kind of a ministerial manager for a theological program that's centered around Sunday morning, and that's pretty much it. So what I'm saying is, if you want to see examples of what ministry can look like, and don't worry, I didn't come here to baptize y'all. I ain't trying to get you to join my church. I'm not trying to get you to join my church and I'm like that. But what I'm trying to do, and what that book masterfully did for me, was stretch our understanding about the ways in which cooperative principle, practice, and thought has already lived in black church spaces. I mean, think about it. If you push the rewind button of your memory banks about the black church to whatever degree that you might know about it, for many of you, your most recent memory about the power of collective black churches in public action goes back 60-some years. Your most recent memory about the black church is the civil rights movement. And from that point, beyond those black and white grainy videos of Dr. King and other preachers, you have a big gap in your understanding when it comes to where and how black church spaces have been moving and are moving now. But also, even to that memory of 60 years ago, it can be a very simplistic memory because it doesn't honor the diversity and the complexity of how that movement was even taking shape. And so, yes, you saw preachers taking the knee and praying and getting arrested, yes, but don't forget, labor was in the picture, unions were in the picture, land stewards were in the picture. It's a diverse picture there that our kind of the status quo memory and understanding of education that we've gotten about that simplifies it to just one little lane. It was just churches and the people. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And if we're more honest about that history, it can help us to think about how our connections can come together today. And so, for the Black Church Food Security Network, I and we are inspired by the complex, layered history from that movement. But then all the other movements that happened since then where black churches were somewhere in the picture as well. But we also are in community with other groups that also, even if not formal cooperatives, again, embrace cooperative principles or mutualist principles. Groups like the National Black Food and Justice Alliance, of which my organization is a part, and many other organizations of similar spirit where we are operating in this kind of realm where cooperative and mutualist thought can take place. I'll say finally on this point that this is a really exciting time. I left my church after 14 years. I stepped down last year. And I stepped down not because of drama or stress or strain in the church. No. I stepped down because of the urgency of what you said about this particular moment. Mm-hmm. And my feeling of it was time for me to take a leap of faith and to match my personal step to what I understood as the urgency of this particular time. Yeah. So could I have stayed as a pastor at that one church and done good and rode off to the sunset? Yeah. But would that have helped to catalyze the type of potential and maybe cultivate the potential that's in faith communities across the board, maybe not so much, or maybe to a lesser degree. And so I stepped down from pastoring that one church to now being one of the cultivators and stewards of this national movement. And the fruit of focus has been dynamic over the past 12 months. Our greatest growth has happened just because being able to focus. I want to say this, though. When it comes to faith communities, whether synagogue, mosque, church, temple, group, or whatever, this is a really important time as well. This is a particularly pliable moment. There's a pliability that's happening in religious circles right now, because a lot of religious leaders thought that after the pandemic, there'd be this mad rush of people back to the pews. It didn't happen, right? Not so much, right? And we was like, where y'all at? And it was like, even the seniors are like, we're watching on Facebook. So here's the conundrum that has been presented now to a lot of religious leaders across the board. They have all these physical assets, buildings, land, classrooms, vans, and stuff, right? And now they are, out of necessity, having to think about, what do we do with all this stuff? At the same time, you have social movements blossoming or finding their harvest season in this time that's pressing them to think about social justice issues in ways that perhaps they did not think as deeply before. You put that together and you got something to work with. Because now, instead of seeing a problem, the people are not coming back. Oh my goodness, it's a problem. They're running away from God. No, they ain't. Number one, God ain't going nowhere. Number two, the ways that people are finding appetite for their spiritual expression may not be on your wooden pews in that building no more, but when I invite them out to the garden and we put our feet in soil, we all feel a deep type of connection that helps to remind us about what's most important in life and to find meaning in community together, because a butterfly flew across our lips. So because, right? That's what I'm saying. So I'll shut it down, because in church I would say, I feel my help coming on. So I'm going to shut it down right here, because I'll keep on going. But I just want to say, even for the non-religious, please, for a moment, separate whatever ideas or thoughts you have about religion. Put it to the side for a second and think like a cooperator. Think like a community organizer. And look at churches, temples, synagogues as sites for deep organizing at this time, where religious leaders and communities are hungry for a different expression of how they show up in the world. And it may lead to ways where land, kitchens, classrooms, vans that go largely underutilized Monday through Saturday, which has got to be a sentence somewhere in the Bible. I'm going to find it. To have all this stuff just sitting there, oh my goodness, especially in face of the need. And so I have a ball, if you can't tell, I have a ball walking and traveling to these places and spaces and dreaming and asking more questions than having answers. Yeah. What if, right? And I think when you talk about the priest with Mondragon, I get excited there too, because in our spiritual traditions, we are asked to believe things that go beyond the realm of our everyday reality. We're asked to believe things like, the ground opening up, or voices coming from the sky, or angelic beings appearing, and right? Even what it does for us mentally is gets us to imagine and then place belief and praxis and our behavior behind our imagination. So all I'm saying is, y'all, this is a perfect time to connect, reconnect, hitch a caboose to Black church spaces and other types of religious groups, so that cooperatives and mutualist thought can find the next chapter of their home here. But this title also says the next generation. Yes. And I think the next generation, the you that's coming after you, they might just be in somebody's Sunday school class or at a summer camp or a vacation Bible school, and they too are hungry for a different way of expressing their deepest beliefs in the world. And you just might be a part of the constellation that points them in the direction of how their faith, their beliefs, their politics, their practice can show up and live in a type of alignment that I hear coming out of y'all book. I'm about y'all book too. Yeah. Right. But it's coming out of that alignment of I'm human, my labor, my work, my family, my love, it all dances together in a harmonious way.
Oh my God, I feel like we need another hour. I think So I run something now called the Mutualist Society, where I am in conversation with so many in this room. And one of the things that also comes through loud and clear, and it really is what we've talked about, is this idea of the future being about a culture of building.
Yeah.
So, and people at Ashoka call it everyone a change maker. Every faith community has its own language for this. We see this kind of dynamic, and it seems like that is the promise and the hope of the future, is that ability to start to take those, the infrastructure that we actually have civically and faith in our minds, and realize that we actually have to start to do this kind of work. So we have just a few more minutes. I'm tempted if you two will agree that we do this quickly. Can we do this one quickly?
Sure, sure.
This is a big question, and then we're gonna, if you have questions, I don't know where Joe is, if you wanna get ready, if you have a burning desire, I think probably we'll have maybe time for one or two questions. Okay, so this is the question. If you could wave a magic wand to make your organizations or ecosystems flourish, what 3 wishes would you ask for?
So, first one would be, for me, a call to governments at all levels, city level, county level, state level, national level, world level. I mean, they're very friendly with us, with co-ops, but we need them to do more. And we are right now in this global campaign called Own the Metrics with our friend Michael Peck. And we want them to recognize that cooperatives and social enterprises can do it different. And we want them to have a clear idea when they are designing their procurement policies. So there's a very nice and friendly call to governments to please keep on working on that because there's a lot they can do. My second wish would be related to what he said, Herbert said, on future thinking. I work also as a futurist. And many times I find that co-ops, we lack some future orientation. Sure. We are very nice people, but sometimes we look more to the past than to the future. And
your third?
My third wish is that cooperatives would lead the world.
Okay, well, let's make that wish happen.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to give my Catholic priest answer real quick, real short. I'll be a Catholic, not a Baptist. Quick, one. So for the organization, for the Black Church Food Security Network, there are thousands of Black churches across the country. My wish would be every single last one of them will become a member of the Black Church Food Security Network, and that their land, kitchens, classrooms, most importantly, their people would come into this space of learning and growing together, from popular education to the very work that we do in the gardens and everything else. That's one. Two, because I believe more so in the power, people power, and power really springing up. I really would wish that every single last one of us would tap into our 5-year-old self, where our brains were more flexible and nimble with, I'm gonna be like a ballerina and an astronaut. And in your 5-year-old brain, there was no conflict there. And I think I would wave the wand and want every single person to go back to who you were at 5 and let that brain lead the way into coming up with different kinds of ideas. Let me see, third one. Let me see. Oh, all right, big one. Wish.
Fast.
Fast. People-powered food systems, ecosystems, people-powered, and having food, and everything will spring from the food. But if we start with our literal kitchen table and organize around that, and let our food systems dance together like a grandfather clock, and like the gears of certain communities dance with other communities, then it will go a long way in challenging the corporate food system and big agribusinesses that are putting profit over people every step of the way.
Beautiful. Okay, so this last to be an inspiration, if we could have a question that's really a question, and if there's a lot of questions, maybe we could do a few, and I leave this to Joe.
Hello? Okay, cool. My name is JT. This is a question for Reverend Dr. Brown, but it's good for anybody else. I work for Symbiop, which is a worker-owned cooperative that focuses on urban regenerative agriculture and habitat restoration. So I think about food sovereignties a lot. And this might be a hard question because to me, the food part is the easy part. The sovereignty part is the hard part. And when I think of sovereignty, I think of self-funded, democratically governed, worker-controlled, economy that pays the worker well enough that they can actually buy the food, right? So I'm wondering how you think we can get there, because right now, like a lot of organizations that do create these new farms require subsidies from rich people, subsidies from government, which we need to do right now, of course, because they have money and those money, we need to get them back, right? But eventually we need to create an economy that's self-funded that will pay the worker well.
Perfect question.
How we do it?
Yeah.
How we do it? All right, this is the way I'm thinking about it. I don't have no answers. I don't know. I'm thinking about this, though. Black churches got budgets. And I've been in trustee meetings with church leaders around their budgets. And so when I think about how do we fund our work and our organization and our mission, we start there. What are you already spending money on as a church? I know food is on that budget, and probably it's one of the top 5 line items on your church budget. So let me help you think about how to use the money you're already spending in a way that's more helpful to the movement and the food sovereignty that you just referenced. And I think, at least for me as an organizer, it's helpful to me to look at what people are already doing and invite them to take a slight step based on what they're already doing. Churches already spend money on lawn maintenance. They just pay somebody to cut the grass. That money is already on the budget. Now I just want to help you shift that money in a different direction. And if I can get a cluster of y'all that all spend that same money on lawn maintenance in this one neighborhood and help y'all see a bigger vision, I'm not asking you necessarily to do something so different financially. I'm asking you to shift where you spend it so that we can co-create something that's more lasting. And for me, that food sovereignty path begins to get laid when you just look at how is this faith institution already spending money? And what leverage do I have to help them to think about it a different way? Yeah,
that's beautiful. And the point of staging and building where you can. Mm-hmm. Is there another question? And then right. I think that we want to also have some women ask some questions. So Joe, let's get some women up here too, asking questions. So please, give your question, but we really are limited in time. Okay. So please, quick question.
Yeah, my name is Fred Medlicott. I work at the Northwest Cooperative Development Center in Washington State. And one of the things that we're trying to think through is we have this cooperative development knowledge, and we know that there are large existing networks in community of folks that are doing community organizing, community development. And one of the things we struggle with is so how would I approach a Black church network or association in order to try and not explain, but in order to try and give them the resources or skills or knowledge that we have at the center in the cooperative model? Do you have recommendations on how, especially for, we're a white-led organization?
Yeah. So when you was how do I approach? In my head, I was like, you don't. So, but
do you mean because he doesn't or he shouldn't?
No, not because you should. No, I'm saying, in terms of strategy, who do you know? Who is relational organizing for me is always going to be the thing. So who do you know already that's connected and in those spaces? And if you don't know anybody, it might be time to start going to church. It might be time, and it might be time, and going not with this is what I want y'all to do as your lead, but what are y'all doing that I can support? How can I get behind what you're already doing? Because I'm sure you're already doing half the stuff I might be coming to tell y'all need to be doing, but I don't know nothing about y'all. So let me just come and be a support to what y'all doing on a consistent basis. And over time, as the relationship is established, I think the door might be opened a little bit for a conversation around strategic collaboration and alliance.
Beautiful. You don't have a mic, though. Mike,
it's coming.
Joe, running.
Okay.
Thank you. Ana Martina, I'm part of a worker cooperative called Menar. And my question is very specific, So we want to reconnect international solidarity with the cooperative movement, right? And I'm talking about, we have a lot of immigrants, refugees, and we're coming from economical displacement. We have these communities here, right? And there is, what are efforts that we are doing to reconnect with the Black movements, with resistance that are happening in this country so that we are not in isolation? And, it's wonderful that you're here, also here, because you have also fair share of immigrants and refugees that are going into Europe, right? And here too. So that's my question.
Okay, so why don't we just, if you could answer and give some concluding remarks, and if you have some answer and concluding remarks, and then I think we're done.
So this is a place where I would love to sit with you and dream together because, let's just do that. How about that? Because the thing that I'm curious about, and I want to see where are you in the world? What are you doing in the world? Where are your connections in the world? And then I would want to be thinking about where is my network in the world? What are we already doing in the world? Y'all see, church groups and stuff going all around the world. It gets on my nerves a lot, but for a whole lot of historical and present day reasons. But but again, going back to looking where people are already spending money and organizing themselves, I would be thinking through like, this whole denomination is going to somewhere in the world already. If I get them early enough, could I pitch and propose in community? Can we pitch and propose something to them that says, hey, y'all been going to give free t-shirts and do like this simplistic kind of Christian missionary, very super problematic, toxic stuff for a long time. What if we flipped the script a little bit and did something different, and then we could go in together and say, here's a different way that we can plan a type of connection. I went with a group to Haiti a couple of years back, and they called it a friendship tour. And the whole thing was about relationships. Yeah. And we were going to be taught rather than to teach nothing. It's like, no, you don't know nothing. You go sit down, stay with these families and learn. And I've had that opportunity in Palestine, Israel, and Haiti, different places. And so I've learned so much. And so I don't know, that's the kind of conversation I'd love to have about how do we bridge and connect these international resistance movements. And
beautiful.
You want closing remark? Yes.
You know what, why don't you answer that a little bit, then we'll just go to closing.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. I think this is a great, I would say the greatest challenge we face right now. I know the situation here is not easy in the border, especially with Mexico, but we have a very sad situation also in Europe with the Mediterranean, as you know. I mean, this is a growing challenge, and we are, I have to be frank, we are not addressing this issue in the right way. People are dying, thousands of people are dying, more and more people are dying in the sea. And this is something that we really need to address. And I think also cooperatives, we have a role and a say on that. We have an NGO in Mondragon that is called Mundukide, sorry, yes, Mundukide. And Mundukide, it's a very interesting example because it's a small NGO compared to the big players in the NGO sector, but I would say it's probably one of the only that really brings the cooperative soul to the development policies, and really with an entrepreneurial approach, so that they help people especially in African countries, in South American countries, to become cooperative entrepreneurs, and I think this is a great way for them to try to have an alternative to these very sad situations. But we have a lot to do on that. I mean, we really need to scale up those initiatives. We really need to improve our connections to other activities, because this is something that we are not addressing on the right way. And I totally agree with what you said, yeah.
So I'm in the unenviable position of realizing we are at time, and I know there's so much more to say. I'm nervous to do this, but maybe just a thought, but saying a thought, and just
She's been trying the whole session.
There's so many beautiful thoughts.
It'll be quick thought, two quick thoughts.
Okay.
One, popular education. Let me add that too. That if we utilize technology, perhaps we can set up types of freedom schools where there's learning and growing through popular education models. as well, and not just the trips back and forth, but
Yeah.
let's use this technology as well to learn from each other. All right, quick thing. All right, listen, I really believe in blooming where I'm planted. I'm planted firmly and deeply in black church spaces. I'm a community organizer, pastor, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I think that the best of what is possible with black churches has not been seen yet. The best of it has not even been seen yet. Even though with so much we're standing on, I'm like, wow, there's an opportunity to do even more. And so I think about where I'm planted. Man, if I could just spend a little time with y'all, like we could sit together and I would be like trying to do some people pollination in the room around who can help me create cooperative Sunday school lessons.
Yes.
Who can you help me create cooperative sermon aids and Bible studies and small groups, because the veins of this national network of faith communities already exist. It needs an injection. And it's time now for the urgency of the moment is people are open in churches in ways they've never been open before. I know. And so if we can create it and inject into the veins of our faith communities, it can be another flank in what I pray to be a global force around these types of issues that we care about so much. Thank
Okay, hold your applause, because we're going to get them right after Iban. Iban.
Yeah, my last thought is on humanity. I totally agree that we have a great time ahead, and especially thinking on this technology disruption and transition that we are facing in next decades, especially related to AI. We are seeing now what we call narrow AI. In the future, we could transition into general AI. And I'm not against that. I think we just need a human approach to it.
Yes.
And co-ops, they can really lead the way. We are a technology co-op, for instance, LKS. And this is a huge opportunity. Let's try to think on that as the best opportunity we have for the next decades. And let's work on that. I'm very, very positive for our future. Let's do it.
So before applause, I think that we should just be thinking so much about faith, love, and trust, and that's what is a wish for the future. And I cannot thank these two enough for being here and for you all. So thank you.
Thank
That was great.
You were great.
Well done. Very well
That's
done.
great.
Thank you so much for great discussion. I hope everyone, you have a short break now and take all that thinking and wishing and dreaming. And please come back in 15 minutes and we'll have our next panel then. It'll be at, our next panel starts at 10:30. So please make your way back in about 15 minutes. Thank you.